Hello, I'm Alison from Bag Lady Bird Learn to Sew. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make fab thumb hole cuffs for your hoodies and sweatshirts. So you get an awesome cuff and keep your fingers snugly and warm. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to sew a thumb hole cuff. So, thumb hole. So one of the key things to this is measuring. This is the width ways, this is the stretchy part of the cuff that will go around the cuff. So the lengthways, the less stretchy direction, we are measuring. Total cuff measurement is 20 centimetres. So I've worked out these measurements based on the cuff that I'm wearing right now. Here to the seam allowance, to the edge of the seam allowance, is the length, so this is going to create this seam. So we're going to do some measurements. We're going to do 2.5 centimetres from each edge. And this gives you the distance from the cuff, from the seam here to the opening for the cuff. Plus seam allowance, so you need to allow for your seam allowance in there. So 2.5 centimetres there. Then the next measurement we want is the opening for the thumb cuff. So we're going to do that 3 centimetres. I'm using a friction pen here to mark my fabric because it's really easy to be nice and accurate with a friction pen because it's got a nice sharp tip. And I'm doing it on the wrong side of the fabric, so that even if it doesn't disappear fully, as can sometimes happen with friction pens, then we're not going to worry about that. So if I was making a regular cuff, I would bring these two parts together and I would sew the full length from there to there. As this is not a regular cuff, it is a thumb hole cuff. What I'm going to do first of all is sew the middle section. So I'm just going to pin on both sides where I'm starting and stopping. So I've put my pins through the markers on both sides. So I'm going to sew from here to here. The seam allowance on this is 1/4 inch. So I'm just doing with a normal straight stitch, reverse back to the pin or to the marker. Don't want to sew through the pin, so I'll remove that. So really nice accurate sewing is crucial to getting a thumb cuff with no holes. And if you follow the steps here, this will help. So we just want to finish there on the marker. Now we're going to tuck these bits in and bring these sections together. So just making sure that everything is out of the way. And we're going to sew from here to here. Again, making sure we hit the markers on both sides with the pins. So same seam allowance. So I'm doing edge of the foot, and then we're reversing back, and then coming forwards to hit the next marker. Reverse back, lift your presser foot, and then trim your thread tails. We're going to turn that out like that, and then we want to bring these two bits. So if you look, that bit is stitched there, these bits are loose and flappy, so we're bringing those together Now, making sure it's right sides together, your wrong sides facing you. And again, we're pinning from the markers. We're pinning and sewing the markers. So there. To there. I'm going to sew that now. Just remove that pin before we get to it. And reverse back. And then come forward to our next marker. Move the pin before we get to it. And we're going to end there. Reverse back. Okay, so we've got thumb cuff that looks like this. These are the seams that we've just sewn. So we're now bringing these together, and you want to kind of twist it because we're going to sew that bit, this bit together here first of all, and then we'll sew the other side. But it's a bit kind of against what you think it might be. You can see here where I've had to readjust my markers because I discovered my little cuff was not completely square or completely symmetrical. So here, when I'm putting the pin through to join the marker, I'm going through the end of the stitching on this side and the end of the stitching on this side, bringing that together and pinning, and I'm going to sew from this end to here, which will make it a little easier. What I have noticed is you need to make sure that you keep this seam flat like this, because otherwise it can flop over like that very easily and get stitched in the wrong place. So to do that, I'm just going to put a pin in way back here, which shouldn't even affect where we're sewing. In fact, if I put it in the other direction like that, it's going to be well out of the way, and we're not even going to see it or feel it, so it's there. Okay, so starting here, needle down, reverse back, edge of the foot seam allowance, and we're just coming down here to meet these stitches. Taking care to line everything up. Let's just check it. So this is when you start to see what your thumb hole cuff. Yeah, looking good. So all I need to do now is sew this last little section. And what could have been a really complicated procedure is, when it's broken down into stages, it's a little bit magical. And this is why I love sewing. Just sometimes techniques just feel like magic. And we will, same as we did on the other side, just put a pin in here to hold all these seams to this side. You don't want to get caught up. So starting there, a few stitches in reverse, and then come forwards. And now, remove that pin, get all these threads out in the middle. We should be able to turn this through and see our magical mystery thumb cuff opening. Ta-da! So there we go. So that is it completed. And it is a little magic trick to amaze all your friends. There we go. If you've enjoyed this video, please click like and subscribe to my channel for more great Learn to Sew content that'll help make you a better dressmaker. So that's all sitting nice and flat now. Feels lovely. Awesome.